Hello. Today we're going to be talking about Letters to Wendy's by Joe Wenderoth. Joe Wenderoth was born in Baltimore, Maryland in 1966, and he is currently a professor of the English department of UC Davis. Wenderoth, throughout his career, has been primarily a writer of poetry, but also a performer. If you've ever seen photos of him, or videos of him speaking, you can sort of get the idea that he's playing a character. There's a photo of him with this really horrible mohawk. And on a side note, I was curious about Wenderoth's ability as an instructor. So I looked up his Rate My Professor, and the reviews this guy has is actually insane. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it before, because the one-star reviews say that he was ranting about 9/11, and like forcing his own students to memorize his poetry. Uh yes, I encourage you to look that up because he plays quite the character, even in a professional setting. However, Letters to Wendy is an epistolary collection of surreal writings aimed to mock consumerism, pornography, convenience culture, and American society. Okay, so the whole book is supposed to be letters to the fast food franchise Wendy's. He opens up the collection by saying that he wrote all these entries on comment cards. And so throughout 1996 and 1997, he wrote these entries almost every day, meditating on American culture. And every entry has their own characteristic to it. Of course, there's the famous dunking his penis into Wendy's Frosty. But there's a stronger message that Wenderoth is trying to convey with all these seemingly obscene and frankly absurd entries, because he's trying to say something about America which brought upon itself a unique identity. The language he uses obviously reminiscent of religious sermons, and the food he eats is likened to the Holy Communion. And by making this comparison, saying that America's whole attitude towards spirituality has been watered down, and there is a little bit of that subsiding today, where religion is blended in with American consumption culture to the point where it's inseparably tied to it. And of course, he's also speaks about addiction to junk food. In almost all entries, he's talking about eating Wendy's and how much joy it brings it, and it seems kind of comical on the surface, but once you sort of look into it, it's really just depressing. And this glorification of this fast food chain goes so far as to elevate the workers there and even the Wendy's mascot. He describes her as this ever-present figure, but also an object of desire. There was actually a series of videos published on Wenderoth's channel of him answering some questions about Letters to Wendy's. And he said that he chose Wendy's because it sort of rolled off the tongue better. But after he chose it, he built this narrative around Wendy. And of course, Wenderoth is cranking that up all the way to make a joke of it. But he is saying something pretty substantial here, I think. And Wenderoth has written a lot of poetry aside from his one-off collections, where he's very critical of the American way of life and looks towards this culture in a cynical light. So I do recommend giving this a read. It's very short. Each entry is like 5 lines, 5 or 6 lines. So you could get through this in a day, I think.